Well, we're going to give a few minutes for people to get in the room. I know there was a little difficulty with trying to use the app, but I thank the two ladies that are with us right now for going through the process and getting us started. But I'm excited to have this conversation today when women compete instead of collaborating in professional spaces because it is such an important topic. So we're just going to give a few more moments for people to get in and then we'll get started. Hey, Kristen.
Hello.
We're just giving a few more moments for people to figure out how to get into the room since I made it so challenging by using this particular platform. Hi, Vicky, you made it.
Yes, I did. Hey, how are you?
Good. I am getting messages from people trying to get in and can't figure out this app. So sorry. I won't use this one moving forward.
See here, it wasn't difficult. I just had to, it made me download the app. It wasn't difficult once I downloaded it though.
Okay, good. All right. Well, it is 12:05, so we're going to go ahead and get this party started. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for being a part of today's discussion because, oh, I went too far back. Because this is such an important topic and a topic that we definitely don't discuss enough. So I decided to do this first LinkedIn Live experience with this particular topic. So thank you guys for joining. I know the app probably gave you guys a little bit of stress, but bear with me. This is our first LinkedIn Live, and I'm looking to do these types of events quarterly. So thank you guys for being here, and maybe next time we'll use Microsoft Teams or LinkedIn. Alrighty, so let's get into the room. So today's agenda is going to get into more of the dynamic of why we are here. We're going to talk about the root causes, why high achieving women, like a lot of us that are on the call today, are the women that bring out the worst in others, and what real world patterns are happening right now that have caused us to be in this competitive space, the cost that it is to all of us for us to be in these spaces, but also to be in this competitive nature with other women. The mindset reframe that we will talk about to kind of help us think past our own insecurities and allow us to embrace other women. We'll do a little bit of live question and answer, and then we'll give the call to action. This is definitely a safe space. We're going to talk about some things that may be uncomfortable, but it's all to help us grow. Feel free to engage, raise your hand, just take yourself off mute and add into the conversation. I want this to be a collaborative experience for all. And also, there's going to be a lot of transparency on my end as we get into this because I will be able to share some of my real life stories that have brought me to this point where I am really leaning into these conversations with how to help women achieve their goals in the workplace, but most importantly, how we can collaborate and support each other. So, thank you all again for being here, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you today. So, let's talk about the dynamics of all of this. The dynamic is that when women are, instead of supporting one another, we choose competition over over collaboration in these professional spaces. So there are two mindsets that we're going to talk about today, and that is the competition mindset, which is a limited mindset. It is comparison driven, and it is power. The power is hoarded in that type of mindset. We see other women as threats. We withhold information. We take more than what we give. We believe that there's only room for one woman at the table, and we focus on winning. That mindset causes us to think that if she wins, I lose. So, the collaborative mindset is more of an abundant mindset. It is connection driven. Power is shared. And so when we are in that collaborative mindset, we see other women as allies, not our enemies. We are able to share the knowledge, celebrate their wins, believe that there's enough room at the table for all of us, and we are able to focus on our impact. When we win, we all rise. I am in a space in my professional life where I am in rooms with a lot of amazing women, from the things that I'm involved in on a community aspect and also my day-to-day work life. And there was a time where Sierra was very competition minded. It was just the environment and the culture in the companies that I had worked for previously that were constantly pitting women against each other to see who was going to crawl and claw themselves to the top. And so as I have had these experiences to really work with women that are more in that collaborative mindset, I have noticed a shift in myself over the years, which has really drawn me to being able to lean into this, because I noticed that in a more collaborative mindset, I am able to not only help other women rise, but also I'm on the receiving end of that. And a lot of the women that have helped me rise, especially being new to the Huntsville community, are on this call. So I'm going to give a shout out to Rianita and Vicky and Gayla and all the other women that have been a part of me growing into this community here in Huntsville, but have also been those same women that have been able to mention my name in rooms that I am not in. They are definitely those collaborative minded women, and I appreciate them so much. So I want to have a little bit of engagement. And if you guys want to use the chat, you're more than welcome to. Or if you just want to take yourself off mute, feel free. But have you ever experienced this dynamic where you were either the one competing or the one being competed against, or both? Let me know in the chat, or feel free to take yourself off mute.
Well, I'll share one. I have, there are a lot of marketers in in the area, and I have chosen collaboration over competition. I literally had coffee with one of my fellow marketing agency owners. She told me about another job opportunity for someone that we both know. She had no idea I did systems integrations, and she recommended me for this job. It also had website and social media and all of that as a part of it, which she could have done, but she chose to pass it on to me. I talked with the mutual friend. I ended up getting that contract. So we were collaborative in what we do, and sometimes there's beauty in that collaboration and not looking at just, oh, she's my competitor. There's several of us that are marketers, and we are all friends. We support one another, and there is enough marketing jobs in this area for us all to eat and eat well. So I am always over collaboration over competition.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Vicky. And I know that that is true to who you are. You're just the natural person that is connecting others. But I'm so glad that you brought that point up, because there is enough room for everybody, especially in Huntsville, if anywhere, for everybody to have a piece of the marketing pie. I was at an event last night that was held by the chamber, and we had the opportunity to meet some other women. And there was another young woman that's leaving her school teaching career to start her own leadership development business, which is something that I am also doing. But old Sierra would have thought, oh my God, here comes another person with leadership development as their skill. But Collaborative Sierra was like, oh my gosh, you're just getting started. How can I help you? Let's get together and have coffee. There might be some things that I can help you with. There might be some introductions that I can help you make as you're making this transition. But that collaborative mindset is what also gives you the opportunity to expand your own business, just like Vicki shared. She had the opportunity to actually gain a client out of this. So I love that and thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Well, we will move right along. So, what is the root cause and why does this happen? There are several underlying patterns that fuel the competition instead of collaboration amongst women. Number one is conditioning. From a very young age, women are often taught to be agreeable and not ambitious, and or not too much. So we need to fit in and don't stand out. So I don't know how you all were raised, but I was not raised how to speak up in a boardroom or how to command a room and have executive presence. But I was taught how to be a good wife, be humble, and take care of children in the household, which are all great skills that I definitely use today. But I had to kind of figure my way out when it came to being in these professional spaces and professional landscapes. The scarcity mindset, believing that there's limited success, recognition, or opportunities to go around. If she wins, I lose. I had a fellow person on a panel not too long ago that shared that one of her closest friends that she worked with every day got an opportunity to be a director for an amazing organization. And her first thought automatically went to, well, why didn't they choose me? And so she had to go through that whole exercise of talking herself through her feelings and why she felt that way. But then she also had to realize that, hello, I never even applied for the role. That's not even a role that I really even wanted. Why would I get that role? So when we sit back and kind of assess the feeling and acknowledge the feelings that we're having, but then go through the exercises of being able to go from scarcity mindset to collaborative, we can see that sometimes the opportunity was given to the person because that's what they wanted, and it's not actually something that we were trying to achieve. Number three is fear, the fear of being overlooked, the fear of being replaced or not enough. Fear keeps us focused on protection and not the possibility. It puts us in that survival mode over sisterhood. I have definitely been in that situation in some of the stories that you'll hear later. We have systemic sexism, a culture that pits women against each other while rewarding those who conform and not those who actually collaborate. The system was never built for us. So, of course, when we get into these spaces, we feel like we have to pit each other against each other to be able to win and rise in our organizations and in our careers. The social comparison, social media comparison, but just the comparison that we do with other women, period. Highlight reels that fuel our insecurity and comparison, making us question our worth and someone else's, the compare, compete, and deplete model. So for me, in my day-to-day role, I work as the Alabama Regional Manager for an amazing nonprofit called Next Stop Veterans. So I am in rooms, and sometimes I'm even speaking on panels with decorated war hero women that have jumped out of helicopters or even flown them and have all of these awards and accolades. So it would be easy for me to sit on stage and compare myself to them. But what I have found is I am happy for the successes that they have because that was their lane and their life choice. Sierra never was built to jump out of a helicopter, okay? I was never meant to fly a helicopter. That is just not my passion and not my purpose. But there are times where I have sat on those panels and thinking, why am I here and exactly what do I have to share? Because I'm comparing myself to this four-star general that's at the other end of the table. But what I have also found is that when I share my story or they hear my bio, they come to me at the end and like, oh my God, you have accomplished so much. When I'm looking at them like, really? You're the one that, has all the accolades and the badges and all of the things. But we compare ourselves, and social media has made that so much more prevalent. And so that has also created this whole cause for women to compete. And then lack of mentors and sponsors. Without support, many women don't know how to lift as they climb or don't see it truly modeled. Nowadays, especially with the generations that are coming up after us, we have the opportunity for mentorship. We have amazing organizations like Women in Defense, Women in Manufacturing, Momentum, Leadership Greater Huntsville. There's so many opportunities just here in Alabama and throughout the state for you to be connected to mentors and mentees. But in my early career, those opportunities weren't as prevalent. They weren't offered. So having the lack of support and lack of mentorship just kind of left us all alone to figure this out and navigate. But now we have the opportunities to share that with the next generations that are coming up. So the causes are real, but they're not our destiny. Awareness is the first step, and then intention is the next step. So let's talk about high achieving women, because there are many of you that are high achieving women that are on this call today. And sometimes high achieving women have the ability to bring out the worst in others. We can make other women feel insecure, threatened, or we open up those unhealed dynamics that show up. So that comes up in several different ways. One is visibility envy. Discomfort with our visibility, influence, or success leads to resentment and not necessarily recognition. Your light threatens their shadow. Who does she think she is effect? And Lord knows I have heard that a lot in my lifetime. Assets your confidence, leadership, or standards as arrogance to a too much or undeserving. You're not too much. You're just not what or who they expected. The tall poppy syndrome. The higher you rise, the more pressure others feel to cut you down so that they can also feel tall. They trim you down so that they don't have to feel small. The subtle sabotage. Not always overt, but just as harmful. You're withholding the info, running you out of opportunities, and undermining you behind your back. The silent moves that cause the most damage. And then there's the backhanded compliments, moving the goalposts, exclusion from rooms and resources, weaponized empathy, competition disguised as feedback, loyalty test, and click behavior. We've all probably been a part of all of that. And most women do not wake up to be mean. That is not our intent. This is an inherent survival script that is absorbed from our cultural messages and mirrored. And the ones that were mirrored were once done to them. I have had all of this done to me, and there was a part of me that has probably done this to some woman in my early career. But when we rise, we all rise, and unless we let that insecurity lead. So is there anybody that wants to share a story about any of these 5 things that kind of bring out the worst in other women, or talk about being a high achieving woman in today's society? Gayla, I'm
Sierra.
picking on you today. Oh no, Sybil, you can go, and then I'll get to Gayla
Yes.
later.
I think the tougher part of this is actually sitting here and understanding what I personally have been through and listening to you give a name to it. So I'm sitting in the ouch right now, and I'll be quiet for the rest of this because it is parts of it are a bitter pill to swallow, but when you've had this done and you didn't know how to articulate up or articulate to someone differently what it is, like I just appreciate you for giving a name to it. So now I know what box to put these in and how to handle these differently. So this is great insight. And I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Sybil, for sharing that, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes we don't have the box to put our feelings into, so then it makes it hard to articulate, and it also makes it hard for you to self-correct or deal with the situation. So I hope that this will help everyone be able to identify I have some workplace trauma because not only has this been done to me, I also recognize that I have probably done this to other women. So this does kind of bring up a sore spot on both sides. And I'm even dealing with some of this right now, in a space where I am just dealing with this woman who is a very accomplished woman, but I just don't think she's had the opportunity to really work with another high achieving woman just because of the circle that she surrounds herself with. So this is something that I am still very in tune with and kind of working through as I go through this process with this person, because it's a person that I absolutely have to work with. I can't just avoid her. So I am trying myself to go through this process, but I'm also not going to water myself down. Like, she's just going to have to learn to swallow the pill, right? And deal with the woman that is before her. But I also know that she is, excluding me from rooms and keeping me out of conversations that I need to be in. So I'm having to find a workaround. But we're still going to be cordial, and I'm still going to put a lot of this into practice when it comes to this particular situation. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, this is Gayla. Hello.
Hello.
So I couldn't agree more with what was said earlier about giving a name to this because I've been in my career for a very long time. I'm towards the end of my career, looking at retirement now, but looking back over, 40 years in the tech industry, definitely a male dominated field, but the few females that were there, I remember with wisdom now looking back and only looking able to look back and see so many times I didn't even recognize the elephant in the room. And so I was, very focused and trying to get stuff done. And I wasn't really naturally competitive, I don't think. And so it kept catching me by surprise. I didn't know why I was getting these weird looks by this woman I worked with. I didn't know why I felt excluded. I didn't know why everything was this invisible thing happening. And so I think had I known some of these points that are being raised, way back in my early career, just knowing about it and realizing, okay, I'm on a new project now and I've had two meetings with this, this other professional woman and I'm definitely feeling a competitive, vibe from her. And so I would have tried harder to either break the walls down to try to let her know, but I was naive and really clueless about all of that. So I think the number one is putting a name to this and learning in our environment. It's going to be a little bit different with every human, every female that we interact with, but yet it's going to be the same also. So the sooner and the earlier in our career that we can at least recognize it, we may not be able to eliminate it. Like you said, Sierra, there are going to be women that are just going to want to butt heads and compete with us. Like we can only do so much and we shouldn't close ourselves off or reduce our own opportunity to give or shine. I totally agree with that, but being aware of it first and then trying some different things that sometimes has worked in the past to kind of turn yourselves into allies and collaborators instead of competitors. So anyway, I commend the presentation of these points and asking everyone, if you're younger in your career, to just kind of put these in, a special place and remember, because you're gonna experience this time and time and time again.
Thank you so much, Gayla, for sharing that. And I knew you would have so much to bring to this conversation. She is another very accomplished, high achieving woman. But you're right, just learning how to coexist in the space. Because what happens is I used to internalize all of this and make my mind think that it was something that I was doing wrong. And so for me, early in my career, I was always trying to form who I was dependent upon who was in the room. And that cost me so much in my 20s and my 30s. Now, and probably also thanks to menopause, I just don't give a damn anymore, right? Like, I'm always going to be respectful. Yes, menopause has a part to it. But I'm always going to be respectful. I'm never going to disrespect another woman, but I'm also not going to dim myself. But you were right, Gayla, in saying I'm going to try to find ways where we can work together and collaborate. But then at the end of the day, I've gotten much better of just being able to just put that person in that box and just know how I need to move moving forward and not spend so much time ruminating over what I can do better to be a better person in that person's eyes.
Yep.
That's not what any of this is about. So let's talk about some of the real world patterns. There's 8 specific behaviors that show up in professional spaces. And they may be subtle, but the impact is anything less. So there's the credit theft. They take credit for someone else's work or wins, but the impact is that it undermines the trust and erases the contributions. Number 2 is gatekeeping, which we hear a lot now, especially in our younger generations on TikTok. Don't gatekeep your skincare routines or whatever else, but withholding information, opportunities, or introductions to maintain that advantage. What is the impact? It limits access and keeps other people from rising. The gossip and disrespect. I just had to put somebody in their place not too long ago about this. Spreading rumors, private criticisms, or undermining conversations behind closed doors. It destroys that person's credibility and it creates that culture of fear. There was literally a room that I was in at a networking event that happened a few weeks ago, and another woman was discrediting someone that's trying to build their business in this area. And she was in a room full of other women that could possibly be customers of this particular person. And so she and I had to have a side conversation about, the effects of what she was doing and tearing down this other woman that she just did not like for whatever reason. We can have our dislikes, but being vocal about that in a group setting is something that I'm always going to stand up against. Dismissiveness. Dismissing ideas, accomplishments, or contribution, often in very subtle ways, but the impact of that is silencing voices and it erodes people's confidence. Exclusion, leaving women out of conversations, decisions, networks, and social opportunities, but that impact limits their influence and feeling of belonging. The comparison trap, which we just talked about, pitting women against each other and constantly comparing ourselves to diminish their self-worth. It drains energy and prevents solidarity. Information hoarding, keeping critical updates, resources, or insights to maintain power or relevance, but the impact is it slows growth and creates unnecessary barriers. And the last one is performative support, publicly supporting women but not backing them privately or when it actually matters. This one is huge. It creates confusion and erodes trust. So the whole pattern of this is that the behaviors protect individual egos, but they damage the collective progress. So when we recognize them, it's our duty to call them out, but also to choose the better solution together. And this is what it's costing us all. 54% of women say that they have experienced workplace competition instead of collaboration. But that also leads to a real impact, and especially in our organizations, for those of us that are leaders in these organizations. There's lost potential. You have your talent that is overlooked, the ideas that go unheard, and innovation strategies that never get solved. It weakens our teams. It erodes trust. Psychological safety doesn't exist, and your team's performance declines. The business impact, which is what your C-suite and your dollar people want to hear. It lowers your retention, which leads to high turnover costs, reduced productivity, and it hits your bottom line. Your culture is damaged. And if anybody that works in human resources or has anything to do with people and culture, you know that once your culture is damaged, it takes so much to get it back. So in toxic dynamics, this becomes the norm. It's driving away your top talent and hurting reputation. And I'm going to share a quick story about culture. I worked for an organization early in my career. I was just married, just had my first daughter, and got this opportunity to work for a company that no longer exists because karma is real, and I'll tell you why. When I first got with this organization, they were very small. So I got in right when they were opening their third campus before they exploded to over 100 campuses. But in the beginning, they were very focused on performance, focused on having that culture of family and access. But once I got in and learned that all they really wanted to do was just throw out these almost unachievable goals and just basically sit back and watch us fight to crawl to the top. And so that was probably the first toxic workplace that I ever worked in. And I say first because I've worked in one other toxic workplace since then. But the way that I saw and what I learned from that experience was watching women specifically go after each other just for an accolade of being the number one person for the quarter. Or whenever a job opportunity came up, they literally gave us that scarcity mindset. It was like, okay, dangle the pork chop in front of the dog and see who's going to fight to the top to win. Eventually, I won the prize. I got to be the top person. But I look at all the damage that was caused just trying to get to that one position that I eventually left because I was miserable. I was miserable because the culture was horrible. But that horrible culture led to the dismantling of a huge organization. And so what I gained from that was that I stepped away and noticed that that culture was toxic. And because of that, I took those lessons learned so that I wouldn't have that type of culture anywhere else that I worked. The people that stayed have not been able to get their careers off the ground since that place closed. So there's karma in that, and I was bitter for a very long time and probably needed a little therapy after I left that company. But it really changed how I viewed leadership, how I viewed culture, and how I treated my teams moving forward. And then there's also the societal setback. When women hold each other back, we all fall short of true equity and progress. And we see that now as women are starting to become more prevalent in politics. And I'm not going to talk about politics today. But when we look back at Kamala Harris trying to run for president, the first thing you always heard was that women aren't ready to lead. Women are too emotional. All the negative things that women carry that also follow us in the workplace. And what we all know, especially as women, is that we are probably some of the best leaders. We're all ready to lead, but we all need to support each other to kind of change that narrative. So how do we shift the culture? This is the most important part. So culture change isn't a moment, it's a choice that we have to make over and over again. So number one, we have to do the inner work. This is internal. We have to heal, which Lord knows I had to do a lot of that. We have to reframe, and we have to lead from wholeness. That's that emotional intelligence, that EQ, that we have to do the inner work on ourselves, the inner work on our confidence muscles to be able to shift when we are feeling that pull from another woman that maybe isn't giving us the support that we need. Do the inner work and see how you're feeling. Write it out. I have a journal, and I probably don't journal as much as I should. But I do have a journal for on those days when I am feeling, especially right now when I'm working with this dynamic with this other woman, I write it out so I can put a visual preference on it and do the work. Why am I feeling this way? What are the things that led to these feelings? How do I move forward? Number two, choose collaboration. Compete less, collaborate more, and we all rise together. This is relational. Building those relationships. Now, I could be a bitter Betty. I have had some horrible relationships with women in my past. But I'm also evolved enough to realize that I'm always going to choose collaboration and I'm always going to choose to support women. Because I have seen the flip side of that effect. And I know Vicky talked about it earlier. Gayla has talked about it. I am in a space now where I am building my network. And I'm surrounding myself with women that are very collaborative. And that has made all the difference in my career. It has made all the difference in the opportunities that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. And I'm always going to choose collaboration because collaboration is so much better than the opposite. And that network of women that I have around me is a constant reminder of why I choose to live my life that way. Number 3, use your voice. Speak up, share openly, and normalize the conversation. This is visible. I chose this topic because it's a topic that I have not heard anybody talk about before, and I still think that it is very prevalent to today. We still talk about that proverbial glass ceiling, but I often look at that glass ceiling and realize there's plenty of women that have broken through. And it's because they had that collaborative mindset. The one that broke it before them pulled up the other. They've been mentors, they've been sponsored, they've had all the opportunities to lift and rise through voices. Vicki said, since we were talking about collaboration, can we connect one with another? Yes, we definitely can, Vicki. You want to share?
Sure. Yeah, so my thought was just I'm in a season of wanting to expand my network and be in rooms with women I would not ordinarily be in. And I think, Sierra, you're probably the only person that I actually know in this room, which is great.
Yeah.
I would love to reach out, my email address, I can put it in the chat. I'd love to connect with people here and on LinkedIn. And hey, I love a good afternoon cup of coffee as I'm drinking my coffee now. But I would love to connect with everybody. But if
Absolutely. I
it's
think that's a
okay
great
with
idea.
you, I would love to drop my email in the chat and welcome that with anybody else.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing that up, Vicki. Please share your contact information. This is a great room of amazing women to network with. Vicki and I have had the opportunity to network, and we're now growing that network with trying to include other women. So, Vicki is an amazing person. She is always eager to help someone grow, connect, and do all the things. So, thank you, Vicki, for agreeing to do that. And then be an active ally. This is the active part of it. See it, call it, change it, allyship in action. Vicki just was the perfect example of what allyship looks like. Build and invest. Create opportunities, mentor, sponsor, and open doors for others. There's a ton of amazing organizations for women nowadays that we didn't have when I first started my career. So there's opportunities for you to build and invest. Every woman on this call should be a mentor at some time in your life. If you're not mentoring another woman, what are you doing? So if you want opportunities on how you can be a mentor, whether it's a mentor to younger girls that are age 15 to 18 going into college, we have the Foundation here in North Alabama, but there's tons of other organizations that are helping to grab those young girls at an early age and give them some mentorship. There's also Momentum, which is a great organization for you to have mentorship with. There's Women in Defense, there's Women in Manufacturing. I've mentioned them all before, but I'm going to mention them again. There's no opportunity for you not to have the mentorship that you need or be a mentor to someone else. And then sustain the culture, because that is the cultural part of all of this. Make it a part of how you lead, how you reward, and how you show up every single day. We don't need more women at the table. We need a better table. And that is so true because there's enough room for everybody to succeed. There's enough room for anybody that's doing leadership development to have the opportunity to lead and develop. There's enough room for Vicki to be able to market and give these businesses the opportunity to be seen, but there's also opportunities for others that are in her same field. There's opportunities and room for everyone to be at the table, but we have to build it together. So here is the mindset reframe that I want you guys to take with you. If you change the thought, you can change the feeling and you will change the outcome. So when you see another woman win, you're automatically shift, your mind automatically wants to shift to, she's getting too much attention, what about me? But if you're in the collaborative mindset, her win expands what's possible for all of us. There's room for everyone. When you feel threatened, instead of thinking, I need to protect my position, I can't let her outshine me, the collaborative mindset is, I can stay confident and secure without diminishing her success. How can I support? Yes, thank you, Gayla, for putting all of those amazing organizations in there. When you talk about her, don't say, did you hear she, or something feels off about her. Let's celebrate her impact and respect her voice and value. Try to get to know her. When you're doubting yourself, which we all do, it's just instinctive in our nature. It's, I'm not as qualified or I don't belong here. Stop thinking that. And start realizing that you do bring real value. You belong and you have something to offer. And if you have a seat at that table, which is something that we talk about in Own the Room, use your voice. Make it memorable. It doesn't have to be loudest. You don't have to speak the most. But if you just make that one impactful statement that can shift your confidence, but it also shifts how you're viewed in the room. When you think about support, if I help her, then there's less for me. It's every woman for herself. That is that competition mindset. But if you shift, when I uplift her, we both rise. Together, we go further. That is the mindset that we need to have moving forward. When you envision success, there's only a few spots at the top. I have to fight for my place. I have been there. I have done that. Now, when you move to the collaborative mindset, you can think we can build more tables and I can lead and so can others. It's an emotional shift from comparison to connection to contribution to collective impact. But when we reframe our minds, we're able to rewire a whole culture. A new thought creates a new future. I think that especially for those that are leading, if you are leading a culture, you have to be able to build a culture of collaboration, or else your businesses are going to fail. So now you guys have been an amazing audience and you have been very collaborative, but if anybody wants to share any experiences, or if there are some things in this talk that we talked today that you think we didn't talk about enough, or that you think I should add to this talk, feel free to share now. Thank you, Lori and Sybil, for sharing in the chat.
I guess I have one comment, Sierra. Um, when we were talking earlier about the competition versus collaboration, the other thing that I've learned and watched time and time again is any kind of competitive environment usually means a very short term relationship with someone. You might make it through that project, you might come out on top, she may come out on top, but that's pretty much define the rest of your relationship, which, as anybody, especially in the Huntsville area, knows, it all comes around again. It may be a decade later, 15 years later. I mean, I have come back around and worked with people from 20 years ago. So my point is to me, if you have a choice of which way to go, collaboration always wins because it's the long-term win. It's the win that means if I cross paths with Sierra 10 years from now, she would, I mean, with the relationship now that we're building, would give me a referral for something that I needed and vice versa. So it's kind of investing in the future. So it builds it allows you to build a relationship that builds upon itself year after year after year after year. And that's a much stronger bond than the short term, competitive projects that you might be on.
I couldn't agree more. And as far as collaboration, we're in small communities. I know Alabama is big, and I know we think Huntsville is big for those of you that are here in Huntsville. but I am noticing that everybody is connected to everybody. So that collaboration is so important, especially as you are building your brand, you're building your company, your organization. Gayla is right. I'm probably meeting people today that in my mind I'm thinking we're never going to work together. But in Huntsville has a way of bringing people together that you never thought you were going to end up working with. So being collaborative is also building that brand and building your presence. And it's so important. So thank you, Gayla, for bringing that to the conversation. Anybody else have anything they want to share? So your call to action for today. I would like for you to become a part of the shift because your small actions today can make a big impact. One, I want you to start recognizing opportunities to bring up another woman's name in a room. It could be a coworker that helped you with a project. It could be a woman that is a mentor for you or someone that you look up to that she doesn't even know that you look up to her. Make sure that you are giving that person their flowers and giving them that opportunity to shine. It doesn't have to be public. If you want to tag them in a LinkedIn post, tag them in a LinkedIn post. If you just want to send them a thank you note, send them a thank you note. But making sure that you are recognizing those women that have helped you on your journey. Also, take the opportunity to rise up an up and coming woman. It could be someone that's on your team. It could be someone that you know. It could be a daughter, a goddaughter, a cousin, a friend, somebody that just graduated college. Take that moment to give them some visibility on your LinkedIn. Make an introduction. Do something. The whole point of this and the whole point of us spending this whole 46 minutes and 32 seconds together was to create a shift in the dynamic in the relationships between women. But all of this time will be wasted if you do nothing with it. So today, tomorrow, at some point this week, make sure that you are engaging with another woman. And it could even be having the difficult conversation with someone that maybe is not in your corner. That is a step towards collaboration. Having that conversation with them, seeing how you can work on the relationship. But we all have the opportunity to help with another woman. And if you want to get involved, Gayla has given us some amazing resources in the chat of different organizations that you can be a part of that are filled with amazing women. So if you need to build your tribe, those are some great opportunities and organizations to help you get there. If you are still a woman that is trying to work on your confidence, I am teaching Own the Room, which is a 6-week cohort that is helping women be able to speak confidently, have executive presence, work on their executive pitch, and also work on their relationships with other women. So there's that opportunity there as well. And then there's always just an opportunity to connect with me and the other women in this room today so that you can start developing your emotional EQ and helping you have better relationships with women moving forward. But I thank you guys so much for just being in the room today and contributing to the conversation. I hope that you guys gained something from this conversation today. Even if it's nothing that I said, hopefully you gained someone that you can have coffee with and network with in the future. I would love your feedback as I expand this topic into different types of conversations. If there was something that we did not talk about today that you think would add value to the conversation, please feel free to let me know. I would also love your feedback on the conversation. So if you will scan the QR code and just take a few minutes to provide the feedback so that I can continue to grow and learn the topics that really, really matter to the women today to help us all move forward. But I appreciate each and every one of you. A lot of you are people that I call my friends or people that we are together in other networks. So I appreciate your support today. And please don't ever hesitate to reach out and let me know how I can support you as a woman in business. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, Sierra. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Gayla.
Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much. I am just literally in awe right now, and I couldn't take notes fast enough. I'm honored to be here, grateful to connect with each of you. And Sierra, thank you for not allowing me to shrink. I appreciate you. Thank you, my
Anytime, Sarah.
friend.
And if anybody wants this presentation, just email me or message me in LinkedIn. Give me your email address, and I'll gladly send this to you.
This was great. I love being in rooms where I meet new people, and this was a lot of reinforcement of things that I feel are important. And I am trying to reach out and connect with everybody on LinkedIn as we are doing this. So if I haven't gotten to you, I will.
Thank you
But
so
thanks
much.
again for this event. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I'm hoping to do this on a quarterly basis, so we'll see. But next time I won't use Riverside. But I guess now I could use Riverside because you've all downloaded the app. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're ready now.
Thanks, Kayla.
All right. See ya.
Bye. You ladies have a lovely afternoon.